Okay, now on to today's agenda. So thank you, Jeremy. To kick things off, I have the pleasure of moderating a fireside chat that gets beyond the hype to building data and AI strategies that deliver value today. While we are laying the foundation that can evolve with the shifting technology, regulations, and business priorities of tomorrow. To talk about it, we are going to be joined by the highest levels of leadership. Please welcome Chief Information Officer, Alberta Securities Commission, Ben Kosick, Executive Vice President, Health System, Alexandra Flatt, and VP and Chief Data Science Officer, Manulife, Eugene Wen. Okay, I am so happy. I'm so excited about this panel, and welcome. So let's get started with one of the most grounding conversations of this conference. Okay, this session isn't about the hype, it's about the work. I want to start somewhere honest. The theme is delivering value today while positioning for tomorrow, and that tension is real. So my panelists, in one sentence, what is the single biggest gap you see between AI ambition and AI execution in your sector right now? I'll start with you, Ben.
Okay, thank you. I think organizations don't have AI issues, they have data trust issues, and AI is exposing it faster than ever.
Absolutely.
Well, in healthcare, data has been really seen as an artifact of the systems that we've implemented. And so, from my perspective, a lot of our work has really been put into the data itself and trying to really piece together that data. As a lot of our data is sitting in unstructured data that was never really thought to be brought together when the systems were implemented. So it's really trying to catch up with the ambition to have some routine, AI deliverables. We can't really get to that when our data's not there.
For me, one sentence with one word: AI ops.
I love that. And that's the honest diagnosis. So let's now talk about treatment. The first big challenge I hear from our peers is that how do you invest in AI infrastructure without knowing what the technology will look like in 18 months? You're basically building a foundation for a house where the architectural plans keep changing. So my question is for you, Ben. How do you build an AI foundation that is durable, meaning it can evolve, without compromising the stability and trustworthiness your mandate requires?
Well, I'm going to continue on with my opening line about trust. I think everybody talks about AI as being a foundation that's based on technology. I actually think trust is the foundation. I think that over time, the models will change. I think the platforms will change, and with all due respect to our sponsors, over time, the vendors will change. And so the organization that builds a foundation that has a trusted data foundation, I think those are the ones that will be nimble and able to adapt and evolve with whatever comes next. So how do you build that? Unfortunately, it is the least sexy part of this problem that people have been to some degree ignoring for years. We all say garbage in, garbage out, and we all agree with that, and yet we don't tend to act in alignment with that. And so, at ASC, we're focusing on that data foundation. We're building that trust. So it's the standard things around data ownership, common definitions, quality, metadata, lineage, and governance. And so you've all heard that before, but I think it's becoming increasingly important to focus on that, because without that trust, AI is just going to expose more rapidly the issues that underlie those problems. And eventually, I think the organizations that win over time won't be the ones necessarily that have the best models, but they'll be the ones that have trust in their foundation, in their data, and can have the conversations about the outcomes of using that data.
Absolutely. Alexandra, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree completely with Ben. I do think that data fitness comes from data use, and data use comes from having trust in that data system. we've put a lot of effort in really trying to create systems that are useful for the programs. I'm in healthcare, so a lot of our focus is on delivering to our clinical programs. And so we have, program zones that are built specifically for our programs, but then, and we have a little bit more flexibility in those spaces. They're built for use. We didn't intend to go that way, but they were built for use. But then we have a link zone that has a lot more structure and a lot more standardization, and that creates a bit of a balance for us, a balance for us to give people the flexibility they need to do the work they need when they need to do it, but then have some, real structure that has a broader set of data that allows people to see across the system, contribute into that data asset, and to really force some more standardization. So we've tried to balance flexibility with standardization, because it's, it becomes too rigid if you set everybody in on a certain protocol and certain set of standards. So we're trying to get that data, focus on that data use, and trying to meet it by balancing that flexibility and standardization.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And actually, I'm going to follow up with a question for you. So how has PHSA approached structuring its data platform so that future capabilities, whether it's real-time intelligence, agentic systems, multimodal models, can be adopted without tearing everything down and starting over?
Yeah, well, that's a really difficult question to answer. When we started on this journey, cloud was a new concept to us. And so, I don't even think I knew about agentic systems at the time. So I'm not sure that I can really predict the future and know that we are setting ourselves up for the future and for success for the future. But I do think that there are some really fundamental things that you need to get right, and I'm hoping that that will do us well into the future, and that will position us well. And it starts with ingestion, really focusing on how you're ingesting your data, your curation and linkage. From our perspective, linkage is very, very important to make sure that we're appropriately identifying the patient and attributing the right services and outcomes and treatments to those patients. And then having within that broad access to data. So there was always this sort of power to having ownership of your own data, and really breaking down that culture and really making data accessible to all has been a real fundamental focus for us, as well as, I think Ben touched on this, embedding governance right from the very beginning. So ensuring that we have the right access controls. Privacy is a big issue for us. We're up against that. So broad access, privacy are sometimes, tough to do. And our programs, we have many, many data stewards, and so and many different types of data. So we have imaging data, we have reporting data, we have unstructured data, we have PDF files, we have all sorts of different types of data, different sizes of that data. And so as a result of that, our architecture has actually been very modular, and that has actually was done by accident, and has really created quite a bit of flexibility for us. And I would say that as new capabilities and new kinds of data become available, it makes it easier for us to think about, we can think about federated data systems, and it's easy for us to kind of incorporate that into our data platform. So I think that sort of modular aspect, we built what we call a data scaffold that's repeatable, and I think that has been core to our success. And we're not to say that we haven't had challenges and that we aren't going to have challenges, but I think that those are some of the fundamentals to try to move forward, at least from our perspective. Yeah.
I like your focus on governance.
Yeah.
A lot of people hear governance and they think bureaucracy, but I think ultimately getting the governance right is what's going to allow you to scale at pace.
Yeah, just on that, I do think we have to be careful about not taking away accountability from individuals for for having accountability, for privacy, for good access, for responsible access. And I think we shy away from that sometimes, and we want to create all these committees. And sometimes it's about personal accountability and how do we to continue to enforce that. But having processes in place to
embedding
support
that into the culture,
Yeah,
right? Whether
yeah.
it's kind of use of AI or the
Yeah.
the ownership or the thinking about these compliance driven requirements.
Yeah, I agree.
Just want to add one
Absolutely.
more with my friend Ben. And in addition to data governance side, another flip side is the whole infrastructure platform on agentic side.
Well, it's just in the cloud. We don't have to worry about that.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of things in the cloud. Keep everybody wake up at night.
Yeah.
But there's one transition, just follow Cassandra's point. In addition to governance and data and infrastructure, the platform infrastructure, especially now in the agentic side. Most of companies are trying agentic individual cases, but some companies already moved beyond individual agentic use cases. Now it's getting how to scaling up. So in that context, also need a similar concept that you have done, but data is a agentic platform. That means you don't build agents individually, in individual use cases, in individual settings. You put the whole platform and build all the agents in the same platform, and those agent build can be reused and borrowed, reassembled. That can speed up, and also the governance control, including the token usage, which is cost a lot today. So that's how Manulife now is moving toward too.
And I know you talked a bit about this in our pre-talk, and I think you talked a bit about the catalog that you're creating, and I think that's a great way of exposing the agents to a broader use case.
It is in that context. If you have one single platform across company, like Manulife, we have multiple countries globally, and multiple teams work on it. The team can see what agent already somebody else built, what the function, they can borrow it and tag into it, quickly assemble a new solution.
Yeah, it's great. Great concept. Yeah, we've stolen it already.
Yeah, despite my joke, I absolutely agree with the infrastructure governance requirement, and especially with agentic. It's like there's sometimes a naive concept of, well, there'll be a human in the loop, right? And many of you might have seen the joke where there's a person sitting at their desk and it says human in the loop, and then there's a dump truck backing up and dumping out a whole bunch of requests from AI for approval. Right? So I mean, we have not figured this thing out about identities for agents and how do we govern them and all of that. So I think that is definitely a topic du jour.
I think for us, coming from a very regulated environment, they want to set up approval processes for everything. And so that's the pushback that I'm trying to provide right now, is that I don't want a committee for everything, and that's where I was getting back to this accountability. Like, we really you need to have the structures and infrastructure in place to have it organized and have it governed. But at some point, you have to, just like a manager now has accountability for their employees, this is going to be a virtual staff that they're going to have responsibilities for. And we have to actually start to think about the employment contract with our employees and building it into our employment contract that, you're going to be managing employees and you're going to be managing virtual staff.
Agents, yeah.
And you have accountability for that, and that accountability is based on this is what you're accountable for. But I think we have to start thinking that way. Otherwise, we're going to become extremely bureaucratic and never really reach that level of innovation that we need.
Yes.
So let's talk about where a lot of the AI programs quietly die. It's not in the technology layer, but in the ownership layer. And we kind of did touch upon that. It's so important to have the ownership out there when everyone is responsible, but no one is responsible. So Eugene, I'm going to actually ask you this question. There are two questions. How does one scale from experimentation to going into production? And how do we create a culture where business teams feel accountable for outcomes, not just the data science team? And where can we reduce the fear of experimenting? And I'm coming from a place where I've heard a lot of peer peers basically say when they think about experimenting, it means that, oh, it's not going to happen. So how do we remove that fear? What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you. Two parts. First part first, how we can move faster from experiment into scaling. So that I mentioned earlier for your question, the one word, AI ops. The AI ops cover whole spectrum, end to end. No longer just the single use cases show off, hey, how smart this person is, how capable we are. It is really the big deal. So from the basic data, from the idea generation, and mainly it's for business need, rooted to the business need, and also the whole infrastructure, and the build, governance, risk, and the quality, and more importantly, the functionality of that application, if the agentic ones, the agent, how the agent behave, how reliable it is, and I'm sure the risk, especially we are all regulated industry, and the risk teams set a very high bar, make sure those agent applications behave at a higher level, and also the end user interface. So how friendly, how intuitive that can be used. And last thing is killing point. It's a latency. You build a very good solution, good data, and customer really want to use it. When you type in the question, turning wrong, and took a long time come back. That's a key point. That means the whole end-to-end is AI ops. Second part question is, how can we encourage people, not just technology people, AI team people. The more important is our business people be innovative, thinking the new ideas, test it, and make it work. In that context, it shows the shifting phase of the whole AI application in businesses. In the past, always technology and AI team and propose use cases. The word called get business buy-in, and has been long a keyword, main theme of in the past. There's two implications of that. First, it really helps the technology team to engage with business, make sure they understand business value, and propose the use cases really work. But second part is flip side. Make the business leader feel like they are customers. So you need my buy-in. So I accept what you proposed. In the next phase of really create business value, is no longer how good it is, how smart it is, how fancy it is. It is, can really hit business bottom line. Can we get extra sales? Can we get customer happier? Can we produce new product, put new product on the market? All those are not technology people's number one job. Someone already hold that job. It's a business owner of the line of business. The VPs, AVPs, and directors. In that context, back to your question, they are no longer customer, and they should not feel like customer. It's a shift in mindset. They need to be the owner of this initiative. They need to have the agency, which is the culture change. Say, many people manage a line business for many, many years, never think they can change or make big changes. This is a major shift we need to create. That requires an end-to-end culture change across whole line businesses.
I like the approach kind of involving the business more in that decision making and in the promotion and the decisions. And yours is a very large global organization, and I think one of the challenges all organizations have to figure is sort of where do they fit in the maturity curve and the complexity. And I think there is a need for innovation and testing, and I like to fail fast, or agree that these are the right requirements or the right business value. The challenge is if you have a promotion process that kind of you just throw it over the fence to IT, and now it's like, go productionize this, that has its problems. But if IT is too embedded in building all of its controls and appropriate for production systems into that innovation sandbox, then it slows things down there. So there's an art and a science here about figuring out where the right blend of kind of go play versus it being a formal process. And I think it's a conversation every organization should be having.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one solution. I think that's what you're both saying is that there's like, you have to try different paths because it's not going to, not one thing is going to work in your organization. Different incentives, different things work for different people. We're all motivated differently. And trust for us is a big issue. People don't really trust AI. And so we've been really, we have some people who are really excited, and so it's easy. It's really easy to try to innovate with them. And then, we've got some people who are afraid that it's going to take their job over.
Absolutely.
And so, and those are actually really ripe areas to try and try out AI in a lot of those areas. And so what we've done is start with, what's your biggest pain point? Can we help you in trying to, get rid of your biggest pain point? And that's been a good place for us to start because it helps to get these individuals to actually work in the space that they want to work in and get rid of some of the stuff that they don't actually really like in their work. And so that's been a good way for us to try to really achieve some trust. The other area for us is we created a community of practice where we open it up once a month. People come in and we just share. This worked, this didn't work, and we have 2 speakers that we agree on every month, and they come in and they share their pain points. Like, I tried this was a disaster, and this is why it was a disaster. But this worked, and so people are learning, they're learning with a lot of these agentic systems, where are they strong, where are they weak, and that changes over time. We tried something a year ago and it didn't work. Now we're trying it again this year and it worked. So and we're sharing that knowledge and getting people to share and to hear that it's not that hard, but it's not that simple either. So it's trying to share that pain points, and that community of practice, it's been growing, and I actually learn a lot in it too. So it's been actually a really good process for us.
Yeah, we do something very similar. We have a champions network, we called it, and it's about sharing those kinds of experiences. And so you do have to deal with these sort of opposing forces around, AI is here to take my job, or AI is here to remove the boring, low value work that I'm doing so I can focus on the mission mandate or the value that I want to be contributing to the organization or to society. And so there's that you got to deal with. And we're taking people on a journey both culturally and kind of from a technology and enablement perspective about individual productivity, team productivity, and then enterprise productivity.
Yeah.
And I want to highlight one thing on the culture, especially whole company-wide culture shift. Feel comfortable to try new things and all those community practice, share those. The key thing nowadays is you word governance earlier, both of you mentioned. It is the reliability, the security, the governance, or safeguard in a more direct way. Nowadays, it's not too hard to build an agent. You use cloud or other things, can automatically build something. The difference is you build something versus someone you can directly use by your customer and generate value, generate better customer service. It's one word, the guardrails. And that guardrail going to be counted almost, if not half, at least 40% of the effort of the future AI solution. Take example, we recently deployed an underwriting application, which is multi-agent-based solution, and in the US, which is a quick quote called. It's public information. For the life insurance sales, and in the US, before a external advisor has make a final deal, they send this customer's information anonymously, don't tell you who they are, but I have a customer like this. And here's the health information in short email. And are you going to take it or not? If you take, what's your risk level? That's called quick quote. And traditionally, the underwriters usually they will take this medical all those information and refer to a underwriting manual, which is 700 some pages, has individual diagnosis, diabetes, hypertension, all those chapters. In each chapter has multiple tables, height, weight, age, lab results, and then come up with a risk level, risk score. If somebody has a comorbidity, diabetes, with hypertension, there's a hypertension chapter. All these take quite a long time, and in even the quick ones, but take a day, and second day reply. Now with a reasoning-based agentic solution we build, the agent, one of the agent can automatically take those diagnoses and read through the manual and make a reasoning-based judgment call, say, here's the score. And has a book said, has a table said this, here's the reason I put this here. And at the end, make a final decision and automatically draft an email and send it back within a few minutes. There's no human in the middle after we test it, but the other half still sent to the humans and for those. In this context, a lot of effort, in addition to work with underwriters get those right, it's on risk side. We have to make that accuracy, testing, improving to make sure it meets the threshold of our risk. Second is on the governance side, not just the single LLM or agent, it's a quite high accuracy. We have to build another agent internally, challenge that, make sure all those validity, every step have to be that. So you can see back to the point. The practice is everybody need to know, but every holder also need to know what structure, especially the guardrail, the governance. Mm-hmm. If it's customer external facing, the security, all these are going to take almost half of the time for a fully scaled solution these days.
Yeah, I don't think we have time for this, but I would love to get into how you manage the conversation at the business level about acceptable risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I'm struggling with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We started on a risk appetite route, and it's very challenging.
Right. It
yeah.
starts with no risk, all the value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I honestly can go on and on with this discussion, but I do want to open it up for the audience. We have about time for a couple of questions. So any questions from the audience? Okay, we have a person out there. Just bringing the mic over.
Hello. Okay, good. My name is Fahim Kanji. I'm a consultant independent by myself. I'm from Vancouver, worked with PHSA, so I know all the stuff that you guys do. My question is about the topic of trust and the topic of accountability. And I think you guys touched on things that are near and dear to my heart too. I looked at this for a couple of my clients, and I found that it's about OCM. And making sure that the business understands that data isn't this thing on the side. It is the thing that their systems produce and that their systems feed back through. And so what I wanted to ask you guys was twofold: is how do you guys see OCM playing a role in this up front to the transformation that a business goes through? And then secondly is closed loop thinking around the processes that execute to create the data, that you teach people, hey, do you know what you do? And can you actually track it back through your data so you know you did it right, to help with the data trust, to help with the accuracy, to help with the transparency, to build the trust, to build the accountability? Have you guys had any sort of experiences with that? What are your thoughts about it?
Go ahead.
Okay, I can address this. I can give you example. The trust is the number one thing when we build a solution, especially in these days with LLM, which is probabilistic answer. in one example of the call center we built about 2 years ago, is a typical RAG-based information retrieval. We help our call center to handle complex customer questions. Usually take them 5 to 12, 20 minutes, log in different system, and the finance read the legal documents. Now in that one, about a few seconds, and everything indexed, and the answer come up with bullet points. The key question is, when I proposed that solution almost 2.5 years ago, we build, in addition to generate answer, we also build a separate mechanism to double checking on that answer, give it a grounded score, say, is this answer based on the information retrieved? If not, if from 1 to 5, it's 1 total hallucination, don't use it. It's 5, usually about 3 over, we tell the call center, it's fine. When I presented this to the senior leadership, one of the leader in operations afterwards talked to me, say, Eugene, I'm glad you built that validation agent there. If not, I wouldn't let you deploy in my call center. So that's the difference between the trust need to be earned and also have to be built inside of a solution. You cannot, back to Ben's early point, cannot rely on somebody checking on the side. 100,000 calls every day. You can't afford that.
I wanted to add a couple points to that. I mean, for me, there's a couple of things. One is just going back to basics, just show people their data and get some validation from it. I remember showing them prevalence data, for cardiologists to say, this is the percentage of cases that you did a heart surgery and you implanted a pacemaker, and they were like, that doesn't seem right. And, and we dug into it, and it was the coding. So just give them their data back, and they'll start to let you know whether or not they have confidence in the data, and that's a big part of it. Is just give them data. Data use. Data fitness is built by data use. As well, I think that when it comes to AI, a big piece of it is really giving people an opportunity to compare their work with the AI, and that helps them. I think it helps them to see whether or not this is hallucinating, and there is issues in it. So, I had a radiologist, and she said to me, I thought that I was an excellent radiologist before I started using AI. And she said, AI just, it sometimes points me in a direction that I don't want to go or don't need to go, but it also, it highlights things that I was never looking at. And so, I think just sort of giving that opportunity for people to use it beside them, and to see whether or not it adds value and where it adds value, and then that is where you can really figure out how to integrate it best and to deliver that trust. And so those are kind of 2 ways that we've sort of worked on that.
Well, thank you so much. I know all of us have taken something back from here, whether it's infrastructure, ops, trust, governance, and this is something that all of us are dealing with in our industries. But we are out of time. I wish the conversation could continue, but I would really like to thank Ben, Alexandra, and Eugene for bringing their real experience and candor to this conversation. So thank you so much. Please give a round of applause for our panelists.